Être un bon traiteur, c'est être intransigeant sur la qualité. On ne fait du bon qu'avec le meilleur. C'est être impitoyable sur les recettes. Quand c'est bon, il n'y a rien à ajouter, rien à enlever. C'est être irréprochable sur le goût. Il faut prendre du plaisir pour en donner. Voilà, pour être un bon traiteur, il faut être intraitable.
Parfaitement intraitable.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Mugello for the second race day of action here in the wonderful hills of Italy in the Ultimate Cup European Series. We are here for the first race of the weekend from the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. We have a fantastic and eclectic mix of GT cars waiting on the grid already to get their weekend off to a racing start. Anyway, of course, they've had their practice sessions and qualifying sessions before now, but this is the nitty-gritty of the weekend, as we say. It's fantastic conditions once again here this morning, not a single cloud in the sky, and we're hoping that it will stay that way throughout the entire weekend. And we've just heard in the background the end of the pit lane horn. Was discussing this morning that it sounds more like a train than any other sort of pit lane siren. There's an interesting car to focus our attention on straight off the bat. The Seb Lajou Racing Porsche, the 888 machine, involved in a humongous incident at Paul Ricard, but great to see that they have a car back on the grid for this weekend. But as mentioned, we have a fantastic mix of racing machines out there. A bunch of Ferraris on the grid. There's a few 458 challenge cars, 488 challenge cars. There's even some Ferrari F430s as well, GT cars of yesteryear now. There's even a 296 challenge car, which is an intriguing thing to see. Not too many of those about at the moment. There's an Audi R8 GT4 as well. There is the Ferrari F430 challenge car at the back of the grid, the number 69, driven by Mardine Benjamin. But it's Lyle Schofield that will start on pole position in car 353. That is the Ferrari 296 that he is at the wheel of, with Alexis Berthet joining him on the front row for CMR in the fantastic sounding V10 powered Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. It's the Evo 2 model of that car. More wings and fins and intakes than you know what to do with. But that's what these cars vary in, as you can see with the example there on screen of the Ferrari F430 challenge car. Looks just like the Ferrari F430 Scuderia road car, but obviously it's a much more fine-tuned racing machine underneath, specifically built for competition racing. There's a couple of Porsche 718 Cayman GT4s out there as well, which are an absolute staple of the GT4 category of racing. They've been around for a good few years now, but they're still competitive in all sorts of competition, as we are led here by the Maserati safety car. It's going to be a 25-minute race here this morning. One of 4 races that this category has this weekend. The next of which will come up at 12:15 local time. Then they have the opening slot on the bill on Sunday And then we will be racing with them again at 3:45 in the afternoon on Sunday. So a very busy weekend for these drivers and teams. Obviously, with the races not being as long as some of the endurance races that we see, it's not as tiring on the cars, but it's more spread out over the weekend. So they get more opportunities to score points, of course, and more opportunities to get it wrong sometimes as the teams and drivers have to recuperate in the early stages. You can see them now forming up 2 by 2 to roll their way round the final corner. It's a very straightforward sprint this. While some of the teams have 2 drivers in their cars, they'll be sharing the car over the weekend. The likes of the Seb Ligier Racing Porsche as an example. We've got Stéphane Perrin behind the wheel for this race. He's 3rd on the grid, but he's got also Billy Richin sharing the car with him for this weekend. Looks like they're getting ready to go just now. Looks like a little bit further down the order, we have the 350 Ferrari of Emilio Rocchi. They build their way then up towards the start-finish line, and the first race of the day here at Mugello gets underway, and it's a fantastic start for Lyle Schofield. Makes a really good jump away and opens up a slight advantage over the Lamborghini, the number 37 car of Alexis Berthet. Side by side for 3rd position, though. Looks like the red Ferrari 296 going round the outside of Stéphane Perrin in the Porsche. There's a little bit of squabbling further back as well as the Audi R8 of Pierre Arrow goes side by side with one of the 718 Caymans as well. I believe that's the Switch Racing car. Is it the number 6 machine of, I think it's Perisuti that started that car in this race. It's going to be Mireres that takes over that in the other races of the weekend. But the car in the 3rd spot right now, number 73, Patrick Michellier, has got ahead of the Porsche straight off the bat, but round the outside of turn 1. It's not usually an overtaking manoeuvre that we see on the very first lap. It's quite a difficult one to pull off, is that, here at Mugello. But a great start by Lyle Schofield all the same. Alexis Berthet still holding 2nd place at the moment. We've got a yellow flag at turn 3. Try and figure out who it is that we've lost from the pack in that first sector. The fact that the yellow flag hasn't stopped imminently is sort of indicating that the car is still there. We'll find out. We'll get round to it. But at the moment, it is Lyle Schofield with a, well, slight margin. It's not a considerable lead by any stretch. We look here at the number 8 machine, which is one of the other Porsches. I mistakenly said number 6 earlier on. I do apologise. But he's chasing down the Ferrari right now. And the white Ferrari ahead of him is one of the 488 Challenge cars, not quite to GT3 or GT4 spec, as he actually looks down the inside now, gets it done into the final corner. Will the 351 machine bounce back? That's Andreas Boris behind the wheel. The Ferrari should have the legs over the GT4 Porsche in a straight line. You can see it now, instantly beginning to close in. But around the corners, the GT4 downforce a little bit more sophisticated, despite the colossal rear wing on that Ferrari. The GT4s are a lot more of a balanced car. And I mean, the Ferrari looks massive in comparison as they head through the braking zone into turn 1. But Perisuti moving through into 5th place. There's your race leader then in the 296 Challenge car. Like I said, not too many of these about at the moment. A very new car to motorsport. The 296 breaking into GT3 racing in the last few years. Certainly looks the part. Doesn't quite make the same sound that we used to hear from the likes of the 458 and the 488. The 296 is based on a turbocharged V6 engine rather than the old V8s that the Ferraris used to have. But that car right there is, for me in particular, the greatest sounding car in the field. That number 37 Lamborghini is a bit of a moment there for Schofield, pushing a little bit too hard through the second Arrabbiata corner. Just kicked up a bit of dust there, and that'll be a little indication to Berthet that he could potentially get under the skin of our race leader. A little chink in the armour there for Lyle Schofield. It's a purple sector 2 as well for Alexis Berthet. Have to see whether he can keep that up, and obviously with these cars being so different, you have to consider whether they affect the tyre wear differently, whether some of them are kinder to their tyres, whether some of them start to shred them if you push that a little bit too much. Looks like a good battle for 3rd position going on in the background as well just there. I'll keep an eye on whether Michellier can stay ahead of Perrin. But you can hear that Lamborghini echoing miles and miles away. It's a wonderful looking car. A wonderful sounding car as well. But at the moment, Niall Schofield doing a fantastic job. And it looks like, yeah, Perrin and Michelier are battling back and forth here, keep changing positions, and it is now the Porsche that heads down the inside. Perrin wants to make that stick. But back down the inside looks the 73 of Patrick Michelier. He wants a bit of that into turn 3 and turn 4. And it looks like Simone Conti has not started the race, and the car that lost a lot of time earlier was Gregoire Benadet. He did a 3 minutes 24 on lap 1 and has lost a lot of time to the rest of the field. He's driving the number 96 Ferrari 430. There's 2 of them in the field. One of them has a larger wing on the back. It's more to a similar spec of a GT3 car, whereas the other is the 430 Challenge car without all the wings and fancy aerodynamics. Now that the number 888 of Stéphane Perrin has gotten back ahead of Patrick Michelier, he's actually looking a little bit more comfortable. He's opened up a slight gap there. There's some of the CMR team running the Lamborghini in this race, and there it is. That 5.2 litre V10 that Lamborghini and Audi have always used in their Huracans and R8s in GT3 and in GT4 and even in this Super Trofeo form has always sounded fantastic. We currently have 19.5 minutes of this race left to go. As you can see there, the sun's shining, reflecting beautifully off the circuit. Now there is the aforementioned Ferrari F430 being driven by Gregoire Benadet. Lovely, lovely looking race car. Unfortunately, not quite on the pace here at the moment. But he's still pushing on, still making that thing work. It's great to see one out on track. You don't often see those cars anymore. They were racing in the GT categories more around sort of 2008 to maybe even 2012, before the modern day GT ranks and all of the top manufacturers made their way in to really monopolise the category. The number 73, 296, looking very good at the moment, but losing time to Stéphane Perrin. Still a mighty good looking race car all the same though. Ferrari opting for a much more aggressive wing on the challenge cars at the moment. There's car 57, currently driven by Andrei Zafiratos. Currently running in 7th place overall, 2nd place in the UCS3 category. Now there's multiple classes as well. There's UTCT, UCS2, PC, UCS3, all based on the type of car that they have with them. Like I've mentioned, there's GT3 cars, there's Super Trofeo cars, even GT4s. So they all have their own categories amongst that. At the end of the day, they know that, you know, if you enter the championship with a GT4 Porsche such as this one, it's not going to be able to match up to the pace of a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. It's just how they're built. They're built to different specifications, and this championship accommodates that really well. So car 353 did the fastest lap of the race last time round, did Lyle Schofield. On an absolute mission at the moment, a 152.2, although his pole position time was a 150.5. So clearly the circuit not quite hotting up to the same conditions as it did yesterday. Now we've had actually, this car on screen now, the number 57, has just received a warning for track limits. And as I look out the window, I can see the black and white flag, or at least on the LED board, being flashed at them with their number. So Zafiratos needs to just be careful. It was track limits at turn 15 as well, which is the corner he's just coming into now. He's got a nice bit of daylight around him on the circuit, so no immediate pressure or threat to worry about. Now there is a car that I've wanted to have a good look at, is the Ferrari F430 GT. Wonderful looking race car. It looks very sturdy and strong. Interesting to see they've got the Scuderia 296 branding on the car when it definitely isn't a 296. But you can see it's been taken quite gingerly by Gregoire Benadet at the moment. But it really is a fantastic looking and sounding machine as well. A lot of Ferrari owners, if you speak to them, will always say that the high-revving, naturally aspirated V8s are really wonderful engines, and a lot of them prefer them to the turbocharged V8s and V6s that you get now. There's the Audi R8 GT4 on screen. Currently, the Herrera racing machine running in 8th position overall. 3rd in its category in UCS3. Being driven by Pierre Arau. Love the Wile E. Coyote decals down the side of it. Very interesting livery with the blue gradient along it. But much like Zafiratos, he's got a decent bit of daylight between himself and his nearest competitor. It's the number 69 Mardine Benjamin Ferrari that's behind him at the moment. Also on personal best pace. But as the circuit hots up and as they gradually build temperature into the tyres, the drivers will get quicker and quicker here. You could see, actually, the Ferrari just in the background there. He's just making his way now up to the back of the Audi. Piece by piece, anyway. He's taken about 1/10 out on this lap so far. Almost identical second sectors from the two. But the interesting thing would be to see if Pierre Arau decides to defend a position if he gets caught here by the Ferrari, considering that they're in different classes. But at the moment, Lyle Schofield has opened up a lead now of 9.2 seconds over Alexis Berthet. Stéphane Parran has now gotten away from Patrick Michellier as well. And Perisuti holds on to 5th position outright. Some of the drivers now beginning to get lapped by the race leading car. There is the Audi making its way over the hill, and then the Ferrari F430 chasing it in the background. Again, another fantastic looking race car based on the F430. This challenge car with no huge wings or aerodynamic aids to it. It's basically an even more stripped out version than the Scuderia version of the F430 was. Ferrari already redeveloped the F430 into this fantastic performance edition, the Scuderia, and then thought, let's go racing with this thing and make its own category. And at its peak, it certainly provided epic racing. There is the 488 challenge car, the 350 machine, currently running down in 10th position. Emilio Rocchi behind the wheel. Did a personal best sector on that last lap, but was about 1.2 seconds off his best. A little bit deep there into turn 3. Gingerly round turn 4 as a result, just to make sure he can still tuck it back into the apex. One of a couple of Ferrari challenge cars being run here this weekend. We did have that Maurizio Fondi was going to be driving this car, but Emilio Rocchi was going to be sharing the 333 car. And it seems like they've changed hands in the latter parts, or the latter run-up to the weekend. And right now he's under pressure from the second place car, moves over to the left-hand side, out of the way as quickly as he can as the Lamborghini screams its way by. There is our race leader though, and he's certainly not taking it easy as Lyle Schofield, pushing all of the time. One of the absolute benefits of that Ferrari having a massive white splitter on the front end is you get an idea of just how much it leans back on its rear axle as he gets on the power and throws it out of the exit of the corner. Bouncing around beautifully though through the chicane at the end of the lap. Smoothly does it now onto the brakes. You can see they sort of extend that final corner a little bit. They run wide on the way in, take a really late apex, and then get a bit of a slingshot down the start-finish straight to just optimize whatever top-end speed they can have. One of the most interesting things about this field is that because all of the cars are so different, they have so much variation in top-end speed. And you can see, look, Lyle is really pushing this car hard. It was squirming around on the brakes there. The rear axle was headed for the gravel trap, and the front axle was saying, no, we're going to make the apex somehow. And even then, through 3 and 4, using all of the circuits, wonderful to watch. Similar to what we saw with Ewan Thomas yesterday in the Prototype Sprint Cup. Even though they're leading the race by a long way, they're still proving a point and showing what the car can do, showing what the driver can do as well. And Lyle Schofield is taking absolutely zero prisoners in this race so far. 11 minutes left to go on the clock. And he's making that Ferrari work for every single minute of this race. You can hear it rattling along the rumble strips there. Back over the crest of the hill, he's trying to get even further away from this machine. The Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 of Alexis Berthet. Alexis' car, the only one in its category for this weekend, but obviously overall honours are still quite the boasting point. So he definitely wants to chase down the Ferrari and try and get the better of it. He's doing everything he can do at the moment, and it's a solid performance all the same. Just Schofield just has that slight edge over the Lambo this time round. We'll see what the lap times are when he gets there. Again, squaring off the hairpin slightly. Running wide on the way in and taking a late apex to build up speed on the exit. Used quite a lot of the circuit there. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a track limits infringement for something like that. He went very clearly wide of the curb. Just listen to that though, the V10 as it builds up through the revs down the start-finish straight. I was lucky enough to stand up on the balcony yesterday to watch some of practice for these machines, and it just sounded epic as it completely echoed down the start-finish straight. He's not miles ahead of Stéphane Perrin behind him in the Porsche Cup car either. That 888 machine is on quite the charge at the moment, you know. He's gone nearly half a second quicker than Alexis Berthet on that previous lap. So he's making inroads, but are those inroads going to be enough to catch up in the next 9 minutes? He's still 5 seconds back. I think it would take a mistake and potentially more from Alexis Berthet to completely decimate that gap. But it's leading its class at the moment. So too is Patrick Michellier in the Ferrari. He's in 4th position at the moment. He's now dropped 14 seconds back from this Porsche. And then it's Sandro Perisuti also leading his class as the teams watch on patiently in the garage, ready for the race to come to its conclusion. But as we saw in the Sprint Prototype Cup yesterday, it's definitely not over until it's over. There is the aforementioned Patrick Michellier in that glorious Ferrari. Identical machine to the race leading car, being a 296 challenge car. Just obviously different levels of experience in the garage and different setups and so on go into making the car what it is on the day. Patrick ran a little bit wide there actually as he went through the chicane. Down at turn 11, he was very tight to the apex as a result of that, just making sure that he didn't overdo it. He's got a substantial gap now, though, over Sandro Perisuti behind him. So again, another driver with no real threat to think about, especially not in his class anyway. The next car in class from him is Andreas Boris in another Ferrari challenge car, but that's a 488 rather than the 296 that we see on screen now. I'll say that as he goes behind the hill. Pops up over the crest. And again, just look at the body language of the car. He's keeping it nice and straight and tidy on the way into the braking zone. It didn't look quite as on the limit as Lyle Schofield did earlier when the car was dancing its way towards the apex. You can also notice as well there's a strange blinking effect from the rear lights on the Ferrari 296. That's just down to the LEDs on the back of it. Not quite matching up with the frame rate of the cameras. Always tends to look like they're indicating frantically. But it's going well at the moment for Patrick Michellier. He's trying to stay ahead of this machine, which is Sandro Perisuti. Did a personal best Sector 1 on that last lap. And as you can see, he's trying to push that Porsche to its limit. It really squatted down on the apex there, dipped that left rear wheel. It's almost like the front right was going to come off the ground for a moment as he pushes and pushes, just to try, and well, he's going to put a lap on this car actually. I thought that was the 351 for a moment there. I thought he was almost an entire lap ahead, but no, that is Emilio Rocchi. And there is the, well, it's a visual representation of the development of the Ferrari Challenge right there. We had the Ferrari 488 Challenge car being lapped by the 296. Very literal changing of the guard with those machines. That being teammates 351 and 353. So that is the 6th place car, Andreas Boris. And he moved over nicely and made himself predictable. That's the key thing when you are one of the cars that's going to be lapped, or you know that there's going to be leaders coming by. You have to make yourself predictable. Sometimes it's a bit of a mix and match as to whether drivers stay on their line and make the overtaking car do the work, or whether they dive out of the way. They'll have been given a preference, of course, in the driver's briefing of what to do when that happens. At the end of the day, these are very expensive racing machines, and you don't want to stuff them into one another at the sake of trying to get out of the way of the leaders and being unpredictable. There's the 57 Porsche just running a little bit wide, it seems, up through Arrabbiata. Zafiratos just overdoing it slightly. This, I believe, one of the earlier versions of the Porsche Cayman GT4. Porsche released a number of different body styles for the Caymans over the years, and obviously developed the GT4 racing edition of it with it. And Zafiratos just taking it easier now over those curbs. He got a track limits warning earlier on in the race, and you can see that he's definitely got that in his mind right now. Very gingerly stepping over those curbs, but not an inch over them on the exit. Back on the power now, and he will most certainly be overtaken by the Lamborghini Huracan that you can hear echoing off the hills. And there are the blue flags being waved by the marshals. The Lamborghini gives it a quick flash of the lights on the way up the straight. And he has actually indicated to say, I'm going over to the left, sunshine. Through you go. Good stuff, good cooperation there from lap traffic. That's what you love to see. And I bet that Lamborghini sounds just as fantastic flying past you on a start-finish straight as it does trackside. Just behind them as well, though, is this continuous chase by the 888 Stéphane Perrin Porsche. At the moment, he is now 4 seconds back. He's gained a second in a couple of minutes, but it's not going to be enough at this pace to completely overhaul the Lamborghini. They're still on for an overall podium position as they now lap the Zafiratos Porsche. But there's some good pace coming from this 992 iteration of the GT3 Cup car right now. Still half a minute off the lead. Lyle Schofield doing an excellent job. He's now also put another lap on Emilio Rocchi through this final sector. There's Rocchi's teammate, Andreas Boris. Again, just staying clear of any of the rumble strips, not overdoing it on any of the curbs. And you can see the nose of the car really dip down to the surface as he gets on the brakes into the last corner. Also doing the same method of squaring the corner off, just not as quite on the limit as Lyle Schofield was earlier on. Lyle has begun what will be the penultimate lap of this race. 12 laps completed so far. Now let's see what the gap is between the Lamborghini and the Porsche for second and third. Alexis Berthet crosses the line. It was 4 seconds last time round. It's now 3.6. So Stéphane Perrin is closing in, but it's not quick enough at the moment. It's a great effort and a lovely turnaround in the later stages of this race, but not enough. The 351 there, Andreas Boris, as you can see, is preparing to stay out of the way of the Lamborghini. He went to stay off the racing line for just a second, but realised that the Lamborghini wasn't quite close enough just yet. You can hear the Lamborghini before you can see it, and that's very apparent right now on our shots here. You can hear it closing up to the back of the Ferrari, but we haven't yet seen it. There it is with the red, yellow and black livery just in the background. It's just so much louder than any other car on the circuit. You can even hear it there from a completely different part of the track. It just sounds immense. One more lap though for Lyle Schofield. And he again guides the Ferrari very gracefully through the final corner. He builds up the power, fires one of the Scuderia's finest down the start-finish straight, and begins lap number 14 of this first Ultimate GT Sprint Cup race of the weekend. And it's been a wonderful drive by Lyle. Seemed like the Lamborghini was able to just about keep in touch in the opening stages. But from then on, he's just kept this pace on a brilliant level. His best lap of the race is a 1:51.0. His last lap was only 0.8 of a second off that. So he's been on very strong pace throughout, whereas Alexis Berthet has dropped off slightly. He's some 3 seconds a lap slower now. They're just crossing the line, and the gap for second is 3.8 seconds now. So it's actually stayed about the same on that lap. Alexis Berthet, if anything, slightly quicker. Just about holding the fort right now in second place. The 73 and 64 cars just crossing the line now as well. That's Patrick Michellier. He's just put a lap on Pierre Arau in the Audi. And it looks like as well, the number 8 car here of Sandro Perissuti will not have to do an extra lap because Lyle Schofield is about to lap the car. That'll mean that their race is cut slightly short, but at least it guarantees them the position. It'll be 5th place overall, and it'll be a win in class for Perissuti. There goes Lyle Schofield down the inside into the final corner. Just one more sweeping left-hander for him to complete. And it's going to be an opening win of the weekend in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup for Lyle Schofield and the 353 SR&R Ferrari. Brilliant job by Lyle. Excellent pace throughout. Didn't look back from the start of that one. Perissuti takes 5th position over the line. And we wait now to see what Alexis Berthet does with Stéphane Perrin. Perrin really closed in actually on this final lap. Look at that. Right up behind the Lamborghini now as they come through the final corner. But it's too little too late, unfortunately, from the Porsche. And the Lamborghini takes 2nd position with Alexis Berthet at the wheel. They win their class. Stéphane Perrin will be very happy with that one, considering that the team had that massive accident at Paul Ricard. They'll be over the moon to have come straight back into the series with a podium finish. 4th place is going to go the way of Patrick Michellier. He's just rounding the final corner now. And he crosses the line in the Ferrari 296. 2nd place in the UCTC class. Very well done to him. 5th place already been completed by Sandro Perissuti. There is Pierre Arau across the line. And just in the background there is the Ferrari F430 of Mardine Benjamin. And I believe the final car to cross the line will be Gregoire Benadet in the other Ferrari, number 96, which is the F430 GT. So it's similar to the car on screen now, which is the number 69 machine, but just with the larger racing body kit on it, larger arches, larger wings, splitters and all sorts. A good 4th place that for Michellier. Great win for Lyle Schofield. Very, very dominant performance there. And that's all the cars now that have completed the first race of the day. They'll make their way back round into the pit lane. And we'll see what they do when they make their way in then. Apparently we don't have position boards down there, but we'll see what they do. I think they're all just returning to their boxes by the look of it. The 57 machine there, the Porsche just pulls up and then reverses into the box itself. I say that as sometimes the cars get pushed back into their boxes, of course. The Audi now making its way down as well. You can hear the prototype cup, the sprint prototype cup cars, which are lining up towards the end of the pit lane, I believe. They're getting ready to head round onto the grid and form up for the next race. So we'll see what the situation is in the pit lane. But there is the result. It's Schofield who takes the win in the Ferrari from Berthet in the Lamborghini. Perrin takes third position ahead of Michelier, and then Perissuti holds on to fifth position in his Porsche. The Ferrari of Boris was next up. The field completed by Benjamin, Rocky and Gregoire Benadet in the Ferrari F430 GT. And we'll cut back now to some highlights of that race, and we'll be back with you in a second.
We gonna